This isn't good conversation. we can cut this.
No, it's not.
Okay, folks. If you know what patina is, comment below.
That's gotta go. That's actually not patina. It's too much.
Honestly, fuck, that's good. Do we feel good about that closing, or?
The closing you just did? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. I completely agree.
It was totally weird.
We are back, folks. Welcome to How to Survive a Scandal. We're so happy to have you. We're happy you found us. 10:10 on the AM dial. There's actually a lot of gossip ground to cover. There's a lot of international gossip, but then
there's international gossip.
Yeah, but then you mentioned local gossip, which I do think we have to dive into the local gossip, which was there was meeting the parents this weekend.
Wow, yeah.
Did you know my boyfriend met my parents this weekend?
Let's get into it.
I actually want to know how you think it went.
Oh,
we debriefed a lot afterwards.
Exciting.
You were there, obviously. How do you think it
went?
I
was there. Yeah, I saw it all. I saw the whole thing. I would say on a scale, or out of 10, I'm gonna give it a 7.
Whose fault is that? How do you think he did
well?
I
think he did wonderfully.
Do you think they liked him?
I do think they liked him, and I think he really liked them.
Yeah.
So I think there's no harm, no foul. There was some, how should I put this delicately?
The beginning was totally awkward.
Oh, I wasn't there for that part.
That was the gossip. I think it went really well. He was really proud of his performance, and specifically really proud of the jokes that he thought were a bit risky but landed really well.
He did sort of land a few jokes that I was pleased with the reaction. There were a few that were at my expense that I didn't like so much.
Well, we got a high five.
But I understood that it was sort of, there was something greater at stake, and I put my needs on the back burner, as I often do.
No, you were totally supportive, and you were really called out as being totally supportive.
Oh, good.
So, okay, I do want to move from the local gossip to the international gossip, because there's a lot of really huge pieces. But actually, one of the biggest pieces that I want to talk about kind of dovetails. That word is really triggering to me because it reminds me of one of my old bosses who used to always say that. But kind of dovetails into the meat of today. So I'm going to save the more important piece of gossip for the second item. I'm so sorry. Do you have any local gossip that you wanted to share?
Oh, thanks for asking. I didn't think I was going to get the spotlight. And
this is why, right?
Any local gossip? I don't think I do at the moment.
When it comes to gossip, there are no wrong answers. Okay.
No, I don't.
And if something comes up, please let me know. So, first piece that I really want to talk about is, did you see the stuff that's going on with Meghan Trainor?
No.
So she had a baby via surrogate and posted a picture, and she's like topless. She has this brand new baby that's on her chest, and she's sobbing or whatever, and welcoming my new baby. And the internet is going absolutely crazy. They're so pissed. And they're just there's been a few different criticisms. First of all, they're why this is so performative. Skin to skin isn't a thing. The only reason skin to skin is a thing is so this baby can recognize the smell of the mom that they've been inside. So you can show them that it's okay, or they can hear the heartbeat that they've been hearing the whole time. So what you're doing is performative, which I was that's stupid.
That's insane.
She can do whatever she wants. And then they were I'm sorry, why are you crying as if you just gave birth when you didn't? I was that's also insane. But then there was a BuzzFeed article around this, and then people were just rich people, this is so whatever. There was a BuzzFeed on it, and this was the log line. It said, the concept of a rich woman buying a poor woman's womb, then holding the baby in her arms and crying as if she had given birth herself. Nobody can convince me that isn't diabolical. And everyone's being this is so dystopian, and what? It's a really interesting, here's the picture. It's a really interesting conversation. And
oh,
it's
what? No, this is just what you do when you have a baby.
It's definitely what you do, but
what?
And I like people being like, that's not what skin to skin is about. I was like, well, that's stupid.
This is the craziest
but
thing.
It was interesting.
But like also dads do skin to skin.
100%. Like I was like,
So, like,
I don't think this
what?
matters. But it was an interesting thing about this idea of like people really hating when rich people get surrogates. And I think it's also very much coupled with the whole like biohacking conversation. The fact that people are like already on Meghan Trainor and like up Meghan Trainor's ass for like being on GLP-1s and all of that stuff. So it feels like this idea of like, you're this rich person, you can do whatever you want, and then like you care so much about what you look like. And then it really, really bothered me, the line of like purchasing a poor woman's womb. I was like, excuse me, how is it okay to talk about someone like that any more than it is okay to refer to like sex work as like buying someone? Like you don't talk like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a service,
It's
like
a
anything
weird
else.
way of phrasing it.
But thoughts?
Wow. This is like all such news to me. Like, are there probably important concepts to wrestle with in terms of like being able to access surrogacy as a rich person? For sure. And maybe the complexity, like, I don't know what that industry is like, you know? I don't know how surrogates are like treated. I'm sure there are some like serious and very problematic power imbalances to wrestle with and talk about. I just, if everything that you're saying is accurate, though, that is such a weird response to a woman with her baby.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, people have babies in all kinds of ways, and it's so insane in this day and age to be like, why are you crying holding your baby for the first time? Like, what do you mean? Like, of course.
And I had never heard that before. Like, I had never heard that judgment before around surrogacy, and certainly not so harshly. Like, I just thought we were all fine with surrogacy. Yeah. But then when I saw it and when I saw people were like really upset with it, I was like, this is definitely like about her body, because people are already mad like about her body. And I feel like you can't decouple it from people's frustration with like her obsession, quote unquote, with what's perceived as her obsession with like being thin.
And this is something I'm not up to speed on either. But like, does Meghan Trainor appear to be obsessed with being thin? Like, she was talking to this one like entertainment reporter once, and she was talking about how she was just like, I'm obsessed with like biohacking, like literally give me all the things, I don't care, I want to put it all in my body, modern medicine's amazing, like let's do this kind of thing. And then that really like people were kind of just like, people were annoyed by that. They were like, this is a weird message, whatever. And then obviously people had their stuff to say about being like, we made you famous through All About That Bass, and then you turned around and got thin. Like, how fucking dare you? I just think, here's the thing. Not to sound like some sort of middle-aged conservative man, but like, I'm all about like eat the rich. I'm all about like whatever. But I don't know why people think that like rich people are your friends. Like by virtue of living in the world that they do, and being rich the way they are, and being in a capitalist society, like they're not really your friends like that. They're not really out here championing your best interest, or like we kind of talked about this a little bit last time. Like, we do kind of get convinced that people hold our values to some degree, and sometimes like that's like justified, but I don't know, I just think I don't know, I just don't care, I guess, but whatever, to each their own, but it just seems so strange to me.
I also feel like in this, we also talked about this last time, I feel like there's this like we were talking about, I think we talked about like GLP-1s last time, but there's this concept that I think really grinds people's gears with rich people, of being able to like quote unquote cheat or like skip the line. Yeah. And so I think that's part of some of the frustration that comes up around GLP-1s, but it's also this idea of like motherhood and giving birth. And it feels like if you're going to become a parent, you should suffer, whether that's through giving birth or through a devastating infertility journey. You know what I mean? Like, and then you end up doing like surrogacy or whatever. But this idea that you can like skip the line and have the baby and might still be fertile, but and like just because you have money, people like get really upset by that. And they're like, how dare you?
And it's also just like, can't we just establish that rich people do skip the line?
Yeah,
like
that's the point. That's the point of having money.
That's like, so I mean, I guess just accept it, or like, I don't know, don't act so surprised. Anyways, that's weird.
Yeah, people really couldn't believe it.
I do want to say something just in terms of gossip that I cannot believe I didn't raise.
It's probably what I'm about to raise next.
Oh.
Kyle and Amanda.
Yeah.
So
I can't believe this
is this. And this is when this news came out, I was like, okay, I was devastated because I was like, this needs to be a timely thing. And I'm just going to make a confession to the audience. We're recording this like late Jan. And the news of Kyle Cooke and Amanda Batula breaking up is fresh. Now, do I want to just get this episode out right now so we can start the global conversation about this? Of course. Will this be completely irrelevant and kind of boring by the time this comes out? Like basically a month from now, or maybe even more than a month from now? Probably, but that's okay. Who cares? We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, we must.
First thoughts, Amanda and Kyle from Summer House break up. I mean, you saw the news first. I heard about it through you.
Yeah.
You know, when you I'm going to ask this like a reporter.
My friend Deja, shout out Deja.
You heard it from Deja?
Yeah.
Shout out to Deja. I'm going to ask this question like a reporter. You know, when you first saw the news, what were your initial reactions?
Thanks for asking. When I first saw the news, it was 38 minutes after they had posted it. I ran to their stories. Honestly, I sighed. A sigh of relief. What?
I thought you were going to say I sobbed.
I sobbed. Can you imagine? No, I sighed a sigh of relief for Amanda Batula. God bless her. I think freedom awaits her. I think it's been a long time coming. It's weird with Kyle because there's very few men, especially like public figure men and like boyfriends and like that I'm sort of weirdly rooting for, and even fewer that are kind of pieces of shit like Kyle is. Like Kyle's kind of terrible. But somehow I was rooting for him, not necessarily like I want him to have everything he wants per se, but like I want him to get it, like get what Amanda is asking of him, because they seem to love each other so much. Part of it was me rooting for him just via Amanda, because I love Amanda and I think Amanda really loves Kyle. So I was like, you know what? The two of you can make it work. And I'm like, how many chances, how many conversations, how many terrible seasons of Summer House did they have to have for him 10 years later to just still not get it? And at that point, I say, good riddance. And honestly, I think Amanda is about to have, first of all, the physical, mental, emotional, financial, professional, personal glow up of a lifetime. Yeah. She is going to be catapulted into
the post-divorce glow up is
her
insane.
Queen era.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a really, and she's like what, mid-30s or something? This is perfect
early
age
30s,
for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this is going to be really interesting to see what she does. The divorcee glow up is like absolutely unreal. This really leads into what I was going to say next, and it actually starts with me saying, do you mind if I ask you a personal question?
Not at all.
Okay. So you're divorced, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So this is the perfect timing because we're talking about Kyle and Amanda. We're talking about this divorce. We're talking about the post-divorce glow up. And we were going to talk about visibility in today's episode. So I want to talk about that.
Visibility as being the first piece of the anatomy of a scandal.
So we were talking about we started talking about the anatomy of a scandal, and we talked about visibility being that like first piece. And divorce can absolutely be a scandal. In fact, it's like one of the biggest scandals there are. It's just like a breakup can feel so earth-shattering for way too many people, and you're like, you weren't even involved in this. So I'm curious with your divorce. Did you feel more visible than the average person experiencing a divorce? Or do you think, like, obviously being a person and getting a divorce, like, it's such a vulnerable experience. And like, so even if you're not like a hyper visible person or a public figure or whatever, like there's going to be people in your life who like look to you and like, oh my God, you've been together for so long, or like whatever, and have things to say.
Right.
So everyone's kind of vulnerable who goes through that. But I'm curious to know if you felt that you were more visible than the average person. And I have an opinion on that. But
interesting. My answer might surprise you. The answer is no.
Well,
I did not feel more visible than or I did not think that I was more visible or feel like I was more visible than the average person. I actually felt like I was less visible than the average person, in the sense that I felt like I had largely moved away from the community that I was so visible in that relationship. So I think I never really like had an online presence when it came to my relationship. I wasn't, again, sort of physically in that community that I was in when that relationship started and when that relationship felt very visible. Mm-hmm. So in a lot of ways, I felt that the expectation piece was high. Maybe from the people who I was still visible to, like that almost felt higher to me than maybe in other situations, but the visibility didn't.
Interesting.
What's your opinion on that?
Well, I mean, now that you say that, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like I obviously in a way, I'm a divorcee myself. In a way, I'm not.
We'll get into that later.
My story, folks, is quite, how you say, exquisite, complex, and chic. But after a breakup of a like almost 10-ish years relationship, I felt very like non-visible. I weirdly feel like I just got away with it and nobody really noticed. And I felt like there like weren't that many questions. And I was shocked at how like seamless it was to just kind of like keep it moving and like move it along. I felt like yours was way more visible.
I agree. I think mine was way more visible than yours.
Sure.
Yeah. But I think than the average person, no. But I think, yeah, when we compare mine with yours, I felt like there was a big difference there.
Wow.
You might say I paved the way.
Well, actually, that is, and I don't know if we talked about this last time, but we were talking about the components that like lead to visibility, like what makes someone visible. And of course, you can be hyper visible without being like a celebrity or being super well known. And I think one of the things that make someone visible is just being the first. Like, there's something about that, just like no one has done this before, that is inherently interesting and a spectacle.
Yeah.
Like it just is what it is. So I do think in that way you were more visible because you were just like the first of us to do it, and it felt very like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's interesting when we talk about visibility because you could, I guess it depends how you're looking at it, because if you're talking about visibility within our family and like maybe our close circle at the time, then I guess, yeah, I would say like I was way more visible than say you were at that point. But then like it kind of begs the question, are we talking about visibility at that point, or are we talking about something else?
I think that's different. When I think about visibility, because yes, I think that's more, you have your connections and you have the expectation that comes with it. You have the pressure, you have the role you play, all of that. But when I think about visibility, I really do think about how much of a spectacle are you, and sort of that feeling of being like exposed to an audience that you may or may not owe anything to.
Right.
And I think that comes from this concept of like, there are people that are looking at you as like an institution, or looking at you as like that couple who X, that you might not even realize that they have that connection to you or your relationship or your experience.
Yeah. And I think in fairness, like, I guess when I think about it, to some degree, that visibility was there. I just didn't really engage with it that much. Like, I just didn't have access to certain people or certain conversations, but certain conversations were happening. Like, I was hearing about them. People were reaching out to people around me and being like, what the hell? Like, so it was happening. I just was kind of blocked off to it and kind of like dug a little burrow for myself in the ground and was just like, I'm not dealing with this, and I'm not really in community with these people, so I don't have to. But I think, yeah, it's a good point. I forget what you said specifically, but something about people who sort of feel owed an explanation or an understanding of the situation, who you may or may not even be in relationship with, or you may or may not even like have that much connection to. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know if that existed less for you, or if you just felt the impact of it less because people didn't care as much. Right. I don't think that makes you necessarily less visible. I don't know. The visibility thing is weird.
It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. Do you feel that your breakup was a scandal?
Yeah, I do. Wow. Do you?
I don't know. I go back and forth where I'm like, no. And then I'm like, yeah, kind of, yeah.
Well, I mean, my God, based on our whole, like, tagline, it better be a scandal. Isn't that
it was a scandal. It was a huge one. Yeah.
Explosive.
No, it was. Okay, so on the topic of visibility in the scandal framework, in general, what do you think are the elements of your life specifically, or the components of your life specifically, that make you feel visible? Would you say you feel more visible than the average person? Obviously, again, we're not talking about like influencers, celebrities. We're just talking about like the average person.
Yeah. I would say yes. I feel.
What are the factors that make you feel visible, hyper visible, more visible?
I think for sure being Black. I feel like even being like, my earliest memory is being like 5 and feeling very hyper visible, feeling very aware of the fact that people were gonna look at us more than they would other people. So like, we have certain choices to make in that situation. And for me, it was like, be on your best behavior, as it is for many people. But yeah, I feel like my whole life I have felt more visible than the average person. You?
Huh?
You?
Yes. I would say yes. Obviously, being Black, being homeschooled was a big one. I felt like that was always a topic of conversation, where if we were talking about school, if we were talking about, everybody else could just blend it with their experiences. But then once I named my experience, I was all of a sudden like,
right,
something to look at.
Yeah.
I also felt like we sort of lived in spectacle by the nature of like the way people were always like the Jelly Girls, like this sort of like collective unit, like that. There was just like 3 of us, and obviously there's a 4th, but like the three of us girls. Yeah. And it felt very much just like living in spectacle. Like, there goes that sort of like group of people.
Mm-hmm. I think, for whatever, I feel like it's a combination of things, but for whatever reason, there definitely feels like there was always this feeling of being a big fish in a little pond. Like, whether that was like, I don't know, had to do primarily with being Black, or having sort of like there being 3 of us, and so you already have that impact, like you said. Or even, I'm trying to figure out how to put this, but just even like part of it is obviously that we're Black, that we're Nigerian, we're kids of immigrants. But I just think the level of like the mindset of being successful, even at a young age, was visible, and we. I'm trying to say this in a way that doesn't just sound like we were good at stuff, and so people noticed us.
Oh, that's interesting. I actually don't feel that way. You feel like we were good at stuff?
Yeah, I feel like I was good at stuff.
What kind? Like
mostly Bible stuff.
Yeah, like definitely you were good at Bible stuff. But that wasn't just an us thing. That was like we were super into it. We worked hard. So then we fell among the kids who were super into it and worked hard.
But you're forgetting the context that we were actually. It's weird because I'm like realizing, and this happens a lot with us, I'm realizing that it's also an eras thing. Like, I forget that you are not necessarily from the same era as like me and Joy and Tolu are. So you might actually not have this same experience as me in that way. Like you might you might be slightly post that energy of like the Agelis are so good at sword drills.
Yeah, I was gonna say
think you
that
really
that
participate
wasn't
in that
really
world.
my experience
Okay.
in terms of
enough.
the specific set of compliments I was getting at the time.
Okay.
I do remember feeling pretty competitive around a sword drill and locking the fuck in, but yeah.
Okay, interesting. This is something that we'll have to unpack. For sure.
No, for sure.
Because I've run into this before with you.
With sword drills? Or
Not with sword drills. Just stuff in general. I'll say stuff about like how we grew up and you'll be like, when, where? Like, and I'm like, oh, Joy would know what I was talking about.
Would you say that being good at sword drills is a key piece in the foundation of like understanding your own competence as a person?
That's so funny and interesting. And I just realized this is such a niche conversation we're having just to like, just for the listener at home. A sword drill is where you take the Holy Bible and you hold it up in the air, spine
to palm.
Okay. And then the sort of host facilitator of the sword drill is going to call out a book of the Bible, a specific chapter, and a specific verse in that book. So, for example, some of you might be familiar with John 3:16. So the facilitator might call out John 3:16 and then say, go, and everybody has to race to find that book, that chapter, and that verse.
Yes,
okay?
you do understand it correctly.
So it's I know you're probably thinking the fuck, but the thing is, it's just humor us. Go there if you can. You asked the question, do I think that being good? Honestly, okay, I'm not gonna say that sword drills is, but I just think that like that was probably one of my first experiences realizing that I was like, in some settings, top of the food chain.
That was you kind of being like, I might be exceptional.
Yeah, honestly, it was probably like,
Nice.
Maybe being 7 years old and being like, why am I the first every time? Like, why? And then people being like, oh, that's annoying. Like, and starting to be like, wait a minute, I'm on to something.
That
they
sounds
can't
very
keep up.
exciting.
Sure.
That's awesome. So when you first realized that you were like, I might be exceptional, it was sword drill season.
I guess so. And
Very
then
good.
like even just sword drills, but also like Sunday school, just like knowing the answers, being kind of like on top of certain things. I don't know. Is this not connecting with you at all?
It's so funny because no, I wasn't like a Sunday school like teacher's pet or like a know all the answers type of person. I was pretty competitive in the sword drills, but I remember like, usually landing about like top 3, first, second, or third place.
That's pretty good.
But I wasn't always first.
I'm not gonna say I was always first. That's probably a bit much, but like,
Yeah, and I'm just trying to think about where my sense of like competence was really like rooted in, of just like, I think I might be one of those people that you can just kind of trust to get things done and you can trust to do
that's
well.
Interesting, yeah.
I don't know where that came, like, I don't think it was as inherent for me as it was for you. I actually think it's something that like I developed a little bit, but it wasn't something like, because even when you're being like, you know, we were good at stuff, I think about the stuff that we did, like the activities that we did, and like piano and stuff like that. And it was like, yeah, we were good because we were in piano for a long time. But then when I think about doing festivals, like the APTA festival, again, we're getting niche. I think about doing the RCM exams. I think I wasn't like, yeah, I'm gonna be.
Yeah, and that's why I say we were big fish in a small pond, because I don't think that we were like, actually, what's the word? Like, I don't think we were actually like stellar at everything we did. I just think we were in a lot of contexts where we stood out for being some of the best.
We were, sure,
in those contexts.
Sure, and I think high effort, like we were praised for like the high effort, not necessarily like raw talent per se.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I think that was
I think that makes sense. And I think I think that makes sense, because a lot of what was going on at home was a lot of like high effort. Yeah, high discipline. Especially because it came to like physical activity and fit. We weren't like athletes in certain sports. We weren't like exceptional at anything we did that way, but we were running, we were working out, we were doing things that most of our like peers at a very young age were not doing. Right. And we were constantly like memorizing parts of the Bible. We were like just kind of doing, you're right. It was more about the effort and the discipline, and not necessarily like, oh my gosh, you were exceptionally talented. Yes. We stuck with music when a lot of people didn't. Right. Like just that kind of thing. Yeah, so that makes sense. And I think that was that felt like a big foundational to my identity pretty young, is that, not necessarily that I felt particularly talented at anything I did, but that I was just like, I feel like I do a lot of things that nobody else wants to do because I have to, because mom makes me. Mm-hmm. Like that was sort of how I felt about that experience. Good save. Honestly, we sound like twats. Like just being like, we were the best. I'm glad you sort of put in that high effort.
No, we got there. And folks, I think the moral of the story is just, hey, work hard, okay? And you too might place first in the sword drill of your choosing. Okay, that feels really good.
Wow, that's it, huh?
What else would you like to discuss?
No, it's good. I like that. I mean, we talked about visibility. We talked about scandals. We're not going to do a rapid fire at the end of scandals we care about or not necessarily.
Okay, let's see. Let me ask you. Let me see if I can. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple. Do you care?
Okay.
Oh, you're not going to. Okay, no, you will be. Okay, this is going to take. I know this is supposed to be rapid fire. This is going to take a second to explain. Mm-hmm. Do you care about like rich people being out of touch? For example, remember when it was like everyone was like unfollowing influencers, and then like the Met Gala was happening, and it was just like, you're so out of touch with like what is going on, whatever. So that, do you care about no, let me rephrase that. Do you care about like demanding accountability from influencers or celebrities around any given like political, socioeconomic climate? Are you part of that fight?
I'm not part of that fight. What I do care about, and what I'm a big fan of, is people recognizing who they follow, who they've given their sort of money and attention and energy to, and being like, I'm not into it, and then divesting. That I'm a big fan of. I like people being like, oh, no, I don't fuck with it anymore. Do I care about holding like rich people accountable? I'm just like, no, and it's a little bit of a problem that I have, but I just assume that they're all corrupt and that they're all working against the values that I really hold. I mean, that's a bit of a dramatic statement, not like working against, but at the end of the day, how are you going to be that rich and like fighting the good fight? Just doesn't make sense to me personally. But
do you care about Mark Carney's speech at Davos?
I don't know anything about that.
everybody's been talking about it. It was a real barn burner.
So I mean, it's so funny because I was literally thinking before, I was like, if she brings up something political, like I don't know how to say, I don't care about politics. Like I care about politics, but I guess what I mean is I'm not shocked by anything a political figure does that is problematic. I think they're all problematic, and in a sense I don't believe in politics. I get it. I know we have to do it, and it's obviously I'm gonna okay, let me just back that up. I vote, just to be very clear. I get it. I get my civic responsibility and all of that. I think it's all important. I just think it's all a bit of a game, and it's all a bit of a like an act. So I'm just like, I'm not taking any of it seriously, I guess.
Wow.
I'm sure I'm going to have to explain that later because I know people are going to be like, wait.
How about the good ones? Have you ever seen a politician in the last 5 years that comes out and make you feel like, you know what? Yeah, you represent what we all feel democracy should be. Or are you like, this whole thing is a farce?
No, I don't think the whole thing is a farce. I think some people come out and they're fighting the good fight. I just think it's a quote. I really overquote this one. But the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. So it's like, I totally support the effort, the energy, and there are people who I will get behind, but then you participate in a system that is completely rigged and fixed to uphold some people's interests and marginalize others. I just think there's just no winning. There's no winning.
Honestly, that's not unlike what Mark Carney said in his speech.
Wow. Okay, go off, Mark.
Final question. Do you care and or were you a member of, active participant of Kony 2012?
Wow, we are really exposing people on this podcast.
Be honest.
But you know I was.
If you believed in Kony 2012, if you painted the town orange, was it? What were we? Paint the town Kony? What was the call to action?
This is tough for me.
If you were part of that, please comment below.
Were you not?
I was inspired by the movement. I watched from afar, and I remember being like, I can't wait to wake up tomorrow and see this city.
But you were just like, I'm not gonna click.
No, I certainly didn't print off posters or anything.
No, I didn't print off posters. My God, I just shared the video like some schmuck.
I'm sure I shared the video. I don't know. I have to go check. Okay. That's awesome. Oh, I missed that. Okay, folks. Well, I think that should be all for now.
That feels solid.
Yeah, let's paint the town Kony. Until next time.
Oh, Tommy, don't talk like that. Not in this climate.